Hey everybody, it's James here from Bourgeois Guitars, and today I'm here with Dana Bourgeois to tell us about a very special guitar that just came through our system. Dana, what can you tell us about this special piece?
Well, to start off with, it's an OMSC. That's our 12 fret OM. This particular one has a solid headstock. Most of them have slotted headstocks, and it's got a whole bunch of very different features. We've sort of put a suite of features together that we don't usually dabble in. The guitar has an X-brace back. It has a sound port. It has some very different aesthetic features as well.
Nice.
The idea was we wanted to make something that we thought was sort of like the ultimate fingerstyle guitar. Stretch our horizons a little bit, try to do something a little different than
Nice.
what we do every day of the week.
Nice. Well, I know this, having been close to this project, I know it was a really fun one. An Odyssey, you could almost say.
Yes.
One of the features, obviously there are a lot of visual features that make this guitar really stand out. But I also found that tonally it was a very special guitar too. And I guess what I was most curious is if you could tell us about that double X braced back and kind of how that's kind of developed into an ability to enhance the clarity on a fingerstyle guitar.
Sure. The idea behind the double X back, you can build backs two different ways. If you build a back that's very light and resonant, it becomes sort of a secondary resonator, which adds warmth, depth, and considerable amount of balance to the guitar, to any guitar. The flip side of the coin is you can build a very stout back, and what you get is very loud, punchy, strong, powerful guitar. We've kind of always built a little bit in between, trying to sort of like skirt that perfect balance between those, getting those two different things from the same back. I think the X-brace design tends to give you that perfect balance with a little bit more ease, than a standard ladder brace back. We've been playing around with it a little bit, but the double X, basically it's more like a lattice because there's a double interlocking X, and they're very light. The braces are light. There are no stout backs, but yet it's a super rigid back.
And are they thinner than typical back braces?
Yeah, much thinner than typical back brace. They're as thin as the smaller braces that we generally use on the narrow part of the back.
Okay.
But yet the entire back has a rigidity to it that you can only get with a stouter back, with a stouter brace. The key is where you relieve the braces at the edge, and then give the idea is to give some overall movement to the back, yet have some rigidity through the central area.
Great.
So it seemed to work out pretty nicely for us. Will we start doing this on every guitar? Probably not. It's a little bit more difficult. In fact, it's a lot more difficult to build, and it gives you a different kind of sound than our standard kind of sound.
Cool. So I know that one of your favorite wood combinations is Brazilian rosewood with Adirondack spruce. Now on this guitar, you've chosen a very nice redwood top. What can you tell us about the combination of redwood with Brazilian that you would not normally hear on an Adirondack guitar?
Give you a little shot of the back while we're at it here. It's a very nice set of Brazilian. Well, redwood is I like the responsiveness of redwood. Redwood has a similar responsiveness to torrefied wood. It has that sort of like really quick response, and the guitar sounds old, immediately. Redwood is very stiff across the grain, but less stiff along the grain. It actually works very well in a 12 fret situation where you have less distance, say from the end of the soundboard to the end of the guitar, so there's less to flex. This particular set happened to be stiffer than average, so it had a lot of the qualities that we want. You want a little stiffer top along the grain for a guitar that's going to be played hard with a flat pick, with a banjo player in the band kind of deal. But this is a solo fingerstyle guitar, and you don't it's not going to be played as hard as a bluegrass guitar. So a little bit of flexibility is good. What we're getting is a full spectrum. Redwood has a lot like cedar. It has a very just a super sparkly top end and a very good definition in the bottom end. I like it very similar to a good cedar kind of top. Most people are probably more familiar with cedar than redwood.
Yeah, it seems like to my ear, cedar doesn't have the headroom that
redwood offers. It doesn't have the headroom, and it doesn't have the definition in the bottom end, which is what I really like.
That's what a lot of fingerstyle players really like also.
Exactly.
Well, this guitar obviously has quite a few visual features that are new as well. Obviously, the offset rosette and the arm bevel are a bit of this new package. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about some of the design ideas that went into the visual aspects of the guitar.
Yeah, sure. We've always tried to build in a traditional style, sort of distilling the best of what we feel is traditional design and sort of packaging it in a way that's kind of our own. Well, it feels like there's a new, tradition of, 20th and 21st century lutherie that's really not going to go away. This tradition is probably going to be with us for a little while. We decided to explore some of the features. There's a visual look, and there's some functional things like the arm bevel and like the sound port. I don't know if you can see the sound port there. I'll talk a little bit about the arm bevel. I always feel minimal is best. When I designed my first cutaway, I always thought that, the least amount that you can take from the body and from the vibrating, from the air cavity and from the vibrating area of the top, if you can take a minimal amount away, the sound will be impacted less, the difference between a non-cutaway and a cutaway. Similarly with an arm bevel does add asymmetry to the top on the bass side, or the looser side, the side that you don't want to make smaller and tighten up. And so we went with a minimal arm bevel, just enough to be comfortable. We've sort of just put it all together in a little bit different visual package. The offset rosette, we didn't invent that. The sound port is another new feature for us. Again, we tried to go minimal. Some sound ports are very large, some sound ports are smaller. Sound port adds a little bit of airiness to the sound of the guitar, gives it some breath and an ability to, to just sort of move freely. And it also adds a little bit of ear candy, for the player, which we
always
like.
a bonus.
Always a bonus. Particularly, it's good for a fingerstyle player. In particular, we've used a new set of tuners here, actually for the first time. These are K-tar tuners.
Yeah, from Italy.
From Italy. I was in Italy last year, and I ran into the K-tar people, fell in love with their tuners. They're very minimal, they're very light, very modern looking, and the tuning machines are wonderful. A little bit higher ratio than the Waverleys that we typically use, but I do like a light tuner. Headstocks, a heavy headstock will add a certain darkness to the tone of the guitar. A light tuner is a good thing. These tuners were not available until fairly recently. We ran into the K-tar folks at NAMM in January and got a couple of samples from them. So this is the first time we've used them, and we like them a lot. We'll certainly use these tuners again, make them available. The rest is wooden binding, but otherwise fairly simple. Nice purfling all around, but we wanted to let the wood and some of the new features of the guitar speak visually and not dress it up too much.
Great. Well, it's a beautiful piece.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for sharing that. Now, so I understand we're going to have some special guests playing this guitar for us and doing a demo for us, so stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for that.
But otherwise, I guess this is us signing off from the Bourgeois Shop. Check out this beautiful guitar at Down Home Guitars in Frankfort, Illinois. Give them a call, and they'd be happy to tell you even more about this fantastic instrument.